Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with that second video just to make you think. And we're going to listen to Brad Garlinghouse on Fox Business. I'll be back.
Joining me right now is the CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse. Brad, it's great to have you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us. So you're saying you want a system in the United States where you actually see cryptocurrency and a structure for it. Explain the issue that you're referring to on Twitter, Brad.
Good morning, Maria. Thanks for having me. I think what the world should really understand, certainly here in the United States, is that we are in a race with China. I think as we look back 3 or 4 years ago, there was a race around 5G networks. And I think if we look back in time today, we're going to find that we're at risk of making the same mistake again. And the mistake this time isn't about telecommunications networks and wireless networks. It's about global financial infrastructure. It's about global payments. Even this morning, I saw a new headline about how China is leaving others in the dust. I think in the race we're in, many countries are just in the process of getting a learner's permit. So for Ripple, we are looking at how do we make sure we can compete on a level playing field. And unfortunately, here in the U.S., we have some parts of the U.S. government that look at cryptocurrencies one way and others look at it another way. Sometimes it's looked at as a currency or a commodity or maybe a security. And depending on how it's looked at, it's regulated very differently. I think the Chinese Communist Party is being very strategic and is very focused on dominating this technology. I think there's little doubt that today, China is well ahead of where others are around the world. And I think we have to decide as a country and really the rest of the globe how we want to respond to that.
And I suspect because we don't have a proper structural framework, regulatory framework in place, the broad public has questions about it. So how do you trust something that there's really not a regulatory framework around?
That really is the problem. And it's kind of, for a company like Ripple, who is certainly, I'm a proud U.S. citizen. I grew up in Kansas and certainly want to remain here in the United States. But even last week, there was a report that came out of the Department of Justice that was talking about cryptocurrencies, and it listed 8 separate U.S. regulatory bodies, each of them with a slightly different view on crypto. Some thought it's a property. Some, the IRS looks at it in one way. The CFTC looks at it another way. And I think really what we're seeing is the U.S. is out of sync with what a lot of other countries, G20 markets, are doing. Countries like the U.K., as you mentioned up top, Singapore, Japan, even the UAE and Switzerland. These are all really good examples where there's a clear regulatory framework that's allowing for a healthy market to develop. I moved to Silicon Valley 20 plus years ago when the internet as we know it today was being born. And part of the success in the United States around the internet was because there was clarity for companies to invest. And there's a very level playing field for investment to flow into the internet as we know it today. As we think about the next version of the internet around global cryptocurrencies, global financial infrastructure, if there's a disincentive to invest here in the United States, it will go elsewhere. And certainly where we've seen some examples of U.S. regulators actually advantaging Chinese technologies, that's the real kind of like conundrum we're in, is that if the U.S. government's doing things to advantage a Chinese technology at the disadvantage to a company like Ripple and others like Ripple, then that's a really frustrating place to be. And that's why we have taken the step to look at, should we relocate the company to a country where it is clear?
I think you're making really important points, Brad. I'm glad you're getting this into the conversation. Let me bring in Bob Nardelli here. Bob, go ahead.
Hey, Brad. Again, as a fellow CEO, I can hear the passion in your voice, and I understand your frustration. But at a time when we're trying to do more onshoring, I would hope that, I think you would realize that we're in a very unique situation here with the pandemic. We're trying to get the Supreme Court. We've got an election. I remember vividly being on Maria's show when we were talking about blockchain and cryptocurrency, and it was at the top of the stack of discussion. So I just wonder if there's a pause that you could take to remedy some of the concerns you had. How do you feel about that? Is there a way for you and your colleagues to unite to try to get more attention on this and get it organized, as Maria points out, please?
Absolutely. And, look, the reason why I am out talking about this, as Maria pointed out, we want there to be awareness around this. Because I think my experience has been when people understand the issue, then they're like, oh, okay, wait a minute. We didn't mean to create that dynamic where we're advantaging a Chinese technology over U.S. companies. And so there is momentum around this on Capitol Hill. Actually, just recently, there's a new framework introduced. It's called the Digital Commodity Exchange Act that was introduced in Congress in, I believe, the Ag Committee, and there's bipartisan support.
Yep. You don't want to cede all of this innovation to China. Brad, you make a very important point. I'm glad there's at least the beginning of it in Congress. We'll keep talking about this, and please come back soon. Brad Garlinghouse joining us there.
Now, guys, we just listened to Brad Garlinghouse on Fox Business. Now, what do we know, guys? Think about it. Ripple is the only company that has been on CNBC, Fox. It doesn't matter what channel they've been on it. Bloomberg. They've been on all the major segments. Now, to understand that, guys, you have to go back to the original investors. And these were billion-dollar companies, guys. Of course, Google Adventures, Andreessen, all the big banks. So they knew that this time would actually come. They knew that we were moving over to a digital economy, blockchain. So when we actually listen to Ripple, all the messages, Chris Larson, Brad Garlinghouse, and we know Brad Garlinghouse is nothing but a puppet. We know he's the good-looking guy they put out in the front to speak. That's what he's there for. But what we don't see is we don't see Ethereum. We don't see Chainlink. We don't see any of these guys in national media except for Ripple. Not even Bitcoin Lightning, all the big money that's behind that. We don't see any of that, but we constantly see Ripple. And what did I advise you guys? I advise you that Ripple is nothing but an extension of the central banks. Now, what was Brad Garlinghouse's message in this actual interview? That China is ahead of us. We have to catch up. That was the message that was put. And remember how many people watch Fox, how many people watch CNBC. That message is going to be put to the nation that cryptocurrency is the new way. We had CNBC talk about the airdrop of China's currency, digital currency. So the fact is that we know that what they're trying to get the message to the masses that cryptocurrency is around the corner. And we already know this through the Congress bills. We know the digital wallets will be set up by March that's going to attach to their accounts. And by September, we'll start seeing UBI, that free money. The same way China was able to airdrop free money to their people, that's what's going to happen to our system. But the fact is that you never fall for the devil's tricks, guys. And that's why I'm here. Make sure you are educating your friends and family. I know. We already know this. We know it's tough. But the fact is that if you understand the system and how they want total control, you know how to step aside. You know how to step away. So the fact is that if you're financially secure, guys, if you set yourself up to be financially secure and not worry about the materialistic items, worry about your finances, your friends, your family, get them in order because, guys, it's here. Anytime they're on CNBC and Fox and we know utility is here, we know the C word, the whole objective is to move in the digital economy. So, yes, we are in the start, but guys, they're in the car and they're just going 5 miles an hour. But that gas is about to get pushed because we know there's not going to be any jobs. We see it. We're in the moment right now. All these businesses are closed. When they open these companies back up, it's going to be surrounded by everything digital. You walk in, I showed you the Lumens commercial. You walk into a clothing store, and the only thing you have to do is hit a button, and it's going to show you the outfit on you without you trying it on. The technology is already here, guys. Same way with Zoom. Zoom been around since 2011. It was already set up for this event, guys. Nothing, this whole C word would have never worked if they had not already set up the digital economy. They needed a crisis to get us moved over. Don't forget about that, guys. Do not fall for the Hegelian dialectic. Remember, we gave all this information to China, all the technology, even our military technology, we gave to China. Never, ever forget that. Under Reagan, Clinton, Bush, it didn't matter. We gave them the actual technology. And guys, remember, the third eye never sleeps. Have a wonderful day.